G'day everyone and welcome to this week's live stream. We have the audio running, we have the live streams running, we have everything running. What a nice change for a change. I haven't totally stuffed up everything by the looks of it, and I think we're ready to go. So, how is everyone today on this lovely Tuesday evening? G'day Michelle. Welcome everyone to today's live stream. In this hour we're going to be discussing trends, fads and phases. We all like a good trend or a fad, and this is how we're going to go. We're going to go through a tutorial on how you actually start discerning it for your business and how you actually start predicting them. So when you start marketing for your business, you're able to actually have them already organized and sorted out, and be able to predict ahead of time. So say, for example, there's been trends revolving around seasons, around major sporting events, but also trends that maybe came out of the blue, where, say, for example, one that's very prevalent in my generation is the OK Boomer meme. And for those that are unaware, it's kind of our retort against people from the baby boomer generation who just dismiss millennials at every single turn, and something that I've become well aware of and very prevalent and very privy to when, people of that generation just immediately dismiss me because, oh, you're a child, or dismiss me because, oh, I'm not working as hard as you can, or I'm not doing whatever I need to do. Usually we didn't have any retort or anything we could come back to other than facts, and now we just say, okay, boomer, and then walk away, and they get angry and they get mad, and it's actually quite fun to see. I'm not saying it's going to work for everyone, and if you have parents, grandparents in that generation, do not quote me, but I'm just saying that's a current trend that's happening right now that no one really predicted or was able to see, but then being able to see that scope up, and you'll be able to jump on that type of trend in the future. Probably not one as such as that meme, but at least examples, especially with anything trending in regards to your industry or your business. So then you can start marketing and get those customers to you because you are approaching and discussing that particular trend. So everything that we're going to discuss about is, first of all, we're going to talk about what exactly is a trend, what makes a trend. Sorry, I realized my microphone is in the way of my actual script. And we're going to discuss about how do you actually decide whether or not to follow it. Going through all those rigmaroles of questions that you should actually be having before you actually decide, okay, we're going to jump on this particular trend. How do you actually know that it's actually going to be good for your company, as opposed to, something being seen as cringy or something that's not going to be seen as positive. Yeah. So we can easily do that. We can easily work through that. But remember, if you have any questions, make sure that you comment below. And if you have any questions, if you know anyone who'd be interested in learning about how to actually predict these trends or predict these phases or fads within either the industry or within their particular niche, make sure that you invite them to this live stream, or or make sure that you tag them below in the comments, so then they can watch the live stream with us and have their questions answered as we go along. And of course, anyone on the hashtag rewatch squad, so anyone who's not watching this currently live, can feel free to ask questions or comments, and I'll make sure that I respond to you as soon as possible. And have I went through everything? Yes, I'll repeat in 10 minutes time, and I think we're all good to go. So how are you guys acclimatizing to the lovely weather? So for anyone who's not currently in Geelong, we are finally hitting summer after, 10 days? Yeah, about 10 days of summer supposed to be sort of hitting, and now it's currently hitting us now. So I have turned off as soon as we started streaming, I'm like, okay. And then I turned off the air conditioner that's right behind my head, because the sound would be a bit deafening for you guys and you'd be able to hear that quite a lot. Of course, I would feel a lot less flummoxed and I'd feel a little bit better. But that's not what we're here for, is it? We're here to see me in pain, but also for you guys to actually get information. So if we're ready to go, make sure you get your keyboards ready to ask any questions, and we'll get going. I'll have some water first, and then we'll get going. So, let's talk about what actually makes a trend. So, a trend, also known as a fad or also known as a phase, is essentially when something piques interest for a large amount of people at a very specific point. So, say, for example, trends can be anything that relate to something that they are talking about online, or talking about in the real world that will not have any prevalence, say, 6 months in the future. Like 6 months in the future, we'll realize, oh, that was something we were interested in. Like, say, for example, fidget spinners. If everyone can remember that fad, it was like everyone needed fidget spinners and, clacky toys to keep themselves engaged or keep themselves interested. And of course, that has gone down in trends and popularity. But a lot of people were able to see that trend coming and see how much it would grow to the point where they created solely drop shipping businesses. Like, for example, a mate of mine, Will, who owns Lobster. I've forgotten what. Lobster something. But essentially, he was able, at the age of I think 14, 15, he was able to create a drop shipping business of fidget spinners and attention clacking things, being able to send that out, drop ship, where essentially you're not the one holding the stock. You have somewhere like a factory or a warehouse in, say, China or somewhere else where it's being shipped out of, and that and then that stuff's being sent from, you get the information, then you send it out to them directly, almost from the factory, and they get sent straight to their intended customer. So you don't actually have to physically hold stock. He managed to create a really good business out of it. He managed to jump on that trend and ride it for as long as it could. And then he was able to constantly keep an eye on new trends, new ideas, new practices that are happening out in the industry. And using that knowledge, he was able to pivot a little bit in his business. And then by the time that the fidget spinner craze died out, he was able to jump onto that slime trend, or he was able to jump into the next trend that a lot of people are interested and engaged with, to the point that they're going to willing to take out their wallets and give you money to get that item or to get that product. Now, specifically for a lot of businesses out there, you may not be selling products or little items, but you might be selling a service. You might be a specific industry. So say, for example, a trend was a lot of people after the Royal Commission into banking and all that stuff that happened earlier this year, continuation of last year, but in Australia at least, there was a lot of people who then sought financial planners, who sought financial gurus, who sought from that news of the Royal Commission, where it seemed like a bit of a drab, it's financial news and boring. It got a lot of people action. It got a lot of people on board just saying, hey, the banks are not doing a great thing. Okay, what is my options as a business, as an employer? So a lot of people then looked into peer-to-peer lending from that, and that got a boost in trends and popularity because of outstanding effects that maybe the company or maybe what have you, or the industry didn't exactly predict was going to happen, but a lot of people saw that and then prepared for it. So that's the same thing that you'd be doing in your business, but obviously at a slightly smaller scale, but you're able to get eyeballs and get clicks and get interest. But when you do find a trend, or you find a phase or a fad that's really hip and really interested right now, how do you know if you should follow it or not? So there's a couple of points that you can do. So a couple of points. First is it positive? So is it positive in the sense of, if I were to create a post about this, if I were to make a video about this, or if I were to sell products or services based around this fad trend, is it going to reflect on my business positively? Now, you can probably guess in your mind some examples of trends that aren't exactly positive or aren't exactly nice, or that can be seen as a cringy. Like, say, for example, Coney 2012. As you guessed, 2012, there was that Coney situation and all the atrocities that this gentleman and his army had dealt with within Africa. But, a year later, no one talked about it anymore. A year later, it wasn't an issue anymore. But on that bandwagon, people saw the trending. People saw how much traction it was getting, to the point where people would sell Coney 2012 t-shirts, mugs, actual products that weren't registered to the actual charity or foundation that it was supposed to go to. And you can see that as a bit of cringe, which is not exactly a positive thing. But also, at the end of it all, once the wave of trends has crashed down and everything is kind of settled, you're the business that tried to profit off a murderer. So, don't do that. But then again, that's the same thing. Of course, it won't exactly be that intense for you and your business. Hopefully, you're making more positive decisions than that. But again, will it reflect me positively? Or reflect my business positively? Is it aimed at the right age market. So as all our businesses know, we have a target market in mind. Of course, you're not always catering to the specific demographic of people, but that's usually who you're aiming for. So say, for example, if I were back in the slime trending days, if I were back in the slime trending days of YouTube, on social media, on TikTok, and all those places where slime, or I should say Instagram or such, slime was really engaging for anyone under the age of 18. Like, they loved slime. They just refound it again and refound the playfulness of it. Now, of course, if my target audiences was 18 and below, that would make sense. Go on slime, go on the whole slime bandwagon, sell slime kits, all that good stuff. But if my target market was for men in their 50s, you can kind of see where I'm getting at, and you can kind of see why that wouldn't exactly work. And especially if it's something that your industry has nothing to do with, not even any connection. So of course, say for example, with the changes to the Royal Commission, of course, financial outfits or businesses or companies that had to relate to finance or personal finance, obviously got a hit in regards to trends and how that worked out. But then of course, there's people that maybe are not in that same financial sphere, but are heavily related. So people in investment properties, people in, in renting, and people in large purchase buys. So like boats, caravans, trucks, that type of stuff. When you have to have a lot of money up front, of course, that changed a little in regards to trends because of that Royal Commission, because of the finance that's involved in the heavy toll that it decided to take. But that's the same thing with your business. How is something that may not even be in my realm of thinking going to affect my business, be it positively or negatively? And also, as I've already stated about if it's actually going to reflect well on your brand, is the content, sorry, not the content. Sorry, I'm a little bit tired today. It's been a very full-on day with workshops. Is the trend going to be evergreen or spark? So for those of you who have watched my content and maybe never heard me use that term before, so when I say spark content, that's content that is usually very rushed, usually not of great quality, but it only needs to be relevant or only needs to make sense for a couple of days, a day, an hour, a week, what have you. It's content that's supposed to be rushed out the door, but making sure that you reach your customers first and inform them straight away. Whilst evergreen content is supposed to last for, and will be relevant for 3-5 years, the content is always going to stay the same or relatively the same depending on industry changes. You usually invest a bit more oomph and a bit more effort into those type of videos or that type of content in general because it's going to last you a very long time. And that's the same thing with trends. Are the trends going to be evergreen or are they going to be spark trends? So say, for example, when leading up to, say, Christmas, as you can imagine, Christmas stuff happens. So anything involving, candy canes, anything involving Christmas music, anything involving Christmas-like gift giving, of course, that trend is going to be evergreen because it happens every year. It's the same date every single year. And most of the people and most of, retail starts creeping that, sale time ever closer. And all the events are fairly established. But say, for example, an event that could be a spark event could be something, say, for example, the Fire Festival. So for those who are unaware, the Fire Festival was, I want to say 2017, 2018, I can't exactly remember, but it was a music festival supposed to be for, all the Instagram, it had supposed to have celebrities, musical acts, but it was a complete show. Like it was not done correctly. There's even a documentary that you can watch on Netflix about it, of how it's a good example of when things go wrong. They can go wrong, but to the point where there's so many lawsuits, it's gone, and so many people are out of money because these rich idiots thought they could get away with it. And, ooh, hello, Meryl. Sorry, I didn't see you there. And something that you can mention in regards to the Fire Festival is that there was a lot of interest in regards to how to run an event properly, or it became a part of the lexicon that if your event is going to look like it's going to be poorly, it's going to be taken poorly, or it's running so badly to the point where it's a fire festival, ooh, you can imagine that is going to go wrong. G'day, Meryl. And that's why we refer to it as the Fire Festival. But during that time and during that almost explosion of people posting about how terrible the food was and the memes that were coming up around that type of content. So memes are essentially visual jokes. That's essentially what a meme is. And the memes that were being posted all over the internet, over Reddit, over Facebook, Instagram, everywhere, that are taking the piss out of the Fire Festival, the people that were running it, the people that actually went, the place itself, and all these issues surrounding the event came into this clatamaclasm. So for about almost a week, it was everyone could talk about. And then it jumped down. So then it went, nothing talked about. No one mentioned it. It became part of the lexicon and became part of something that you would mention if things go terribly wrong. It bumped back up in regards to trending when they had the documentary that was on Netflix about the event, which gave a lot more perspective. And again, memes followed and everything like that. But most of the time, it's more of a spark type trend because it's only really relevant for a week. Is it something that you can make money out of? It's essentially what we're doing all in marketing, in business, as to why you're actually doing something for yourself or your business, is will it make me money? Now, a trend like the Fire Festival, of course you're going to get a lot of eyeballs on it, but is it going to be the right type of eyeballs that are going to buy a product or service from you? Maybe, maybe not. But that's something that you need to assess when judging these trends or when foreseeing these trends as to, is this something that I really need to consider? And Alfred, I don't have time for you. There is a lovely fly in this office. He's been chilling with me for the past couple of days, and I call him Alfred because he annoys the hell out of me. And you need to chill. You're up there, you chill. Thank you, Alfred. Cool. So I'm going to just jump on to the tools on actually how you can judge trends after the break. And we'll talk about all the ways on actually how you can, tools that you can use to judge trends. Because essentially what we're talking about is big data. So big data is when you have a lot of data from multiple different sources, from multiple different places, and you can collate it all together to make a decision for your business that's going to benefit you and benefit your business. And one thing that I am going to talk about briefly, I'm going to quickly, Alfred, don't do this, man brand. I'm going to quickly jump on screen, and on screen you will see that I'm on the Arthur Street digital website. So the reason I bring this up is because Matt, this gentleman on the left-hand side, I went to an event, I went up to a meetup, BBL I believe, and he was running a talk on how trends matter and how trends work. So I'm taking a lot of the stuff that I learned from him, inputting and giving it to you. And of course, all the stuff that I've learned, I've actually tested out myself. But Matt was quite helpful in being able to discuss about big data, why it's important and why it's useful, but also why you should care as a business owner. And it was nice to see what he did. So if there's anything that I've talked to you about tonight that really sparks your interest, that really engages you, and you're just a bit overwhelmed about how it can all work, I definitely recommend following Arthur Street Digital, because they do hold masterclasses, they do hold various talks at different, say, events, at different workshops. So, g'day, Michelle. So if you do have any of those interests, they are holding regular events. I highly recommend you check them out. So I'm going to quickly jump back to the big screen and quickly say thank you. Thank you, Michelle. I will update the background at some point. But before we carry on with the rest of the live stream, and we'll talk about the tools, we'll talk about which ones are good to judge and which ones are good for what type of content, again, Evergreen or Spark. And then I'll talk about how to actually incorporate trends or getting prepared for trends in your strategy. Now, this could be marketing strategy in general, but also video strategy in general. How do we feel? Hi. I think we're doing quite well. So I'm going to take a quick drink because it's hot. Now we'll take a little bit of a break. Huh. Yes. So, moving to the screen again. So during this break, we're just going to talk a little bit out of the events and the workshops that we have for Video Confidence Coach. So today I had my last workshop of the year. It was Lights, Camera, Edit at the NAB Village. We had a lovely group of women that really got a lot out of it, and they really enjoyed, and I have learnt a lot from them as well as to what's important for them, and essentially what's important for you guys as well in regards to workshops. So the one that you see on screen right now is Video Made Easy. This is our fundamentals workshop that we provide for everyone who's... Thank you, Michelle. I am standing. I am beautiful. On the screen, you'll see that Video Made Easy. It's a workshop that we have our fundamental people try out. It's our first one that we run. It goes through everything about how to get video started for yourself just using your mobile phone. And this is going to be the last one that we run in a workshop setting because we're moving this to an online coach. I have to work on my words today. We're moving this on to an online course as soon as... So this is on the 15th of January, and then we're going to be moving this to an online course for people to, use and download all over the world. And we're probably going to be pricing that at about $200, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. I'll see all the specifics and such. But that's why this one's going to be the last one that we run. So if you've ever seen us advertise these workshops and you're interested to come to one, this is going to be the last one that we run in real life, where you can get your questions answered in a real life scenario. And then we'll be running the same thing. Well, not the same thing, obviously, because things change once you put them online. But then we're going to move it to an online course perspective, where it's going to be slightly more drawn out to achieve the same effect. But of course, as an online course, you have the ability to get stuff done relatively easy, or should I say easier. So that's on the 15th of January, 2020. Yes, 2020 is almost here. Oh God. And that's going to be from 5:30 to 7:30. So that's on the 15th. So that's like halfway through January. Some people are coming back on the 2nd, and some people don't come back till February, which is perfectly fine. But I don't know about you, but for a lot of businesses that I work with and clients that we work with, yes, it's very cool to have a course. Thank you, Michelle. And jump in and get that information, Michelle says, because Michelle has actually been to that workshop, and I hope she really enjoyed it, because she must be. She's actually commenting. And she says the information that you get from these workshops, I'm so glad that people get so much out of it. You do kind of forget as a small business owner that the stuff that you know, not everyone else knows, and the stuff that you live and breathe every day, people don't even go anywhere near in their entire lives. So you just kind of get remembered like, oh, right, this is how it works. So I'm so glad people have enjoyed the workshop. We're just moving it to the online realm, or the online course realm, because that was the objective. That's most of our objectives when it comes to running workshops. We run the workshops in real life, make sure we get all the questions, make sure that it works for you guys, it actually makes sense, and it covers everything that you need to. And then we put it into an online course where then we can reach it to a larger audience. We won't be running this workshop again unless requested, but usually by that point we'll move on to other workshops like the ones that I'll be mentioning as we go along. And thank you so much for joining us, Jake. There we go. Now on screen, you'll see not the next workshop we have, but one of the workshops that we'll be holding in January is the Video on Instagram workshop. So we're going to be holding a series of workshops at the NAB Village Geelong about video on Instagram, video on Facebook, video on YouTube, and video on LinkedIn. Because we have a lot of people coming to us asking for help in regards to doing video, but specifically on one platform, which usually in our strategy, we recommend that you go for a scattergun approach. Of course, when you're starting out, start on one platform. But when you've gotten to a level of proficiency with your videos, to do videos on multiple different platforms to get the most reach. But when people want more information about specific platforms, because it's not what they do every day, you run your business every day. We want to make sure that we provide these workshops that are on specific trends within the specific online platforms. The reason we're not doing video on Twitter is because Twitter isn't exactly designed for video, not saying that it doesn't take video, of course it does take video, but the trends on it aren't as high as compared to, say, Instagram or Facebook. Or LinkedIn at the moment is doing a lot of activity to make sure that its video ads are on point, and that's the same thing with all the other platforms. So we're currently setting them up over the next couple of days. So if you are interested in workshops for Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn or YouTube, make sure that you like and follow the Video Confidence Coach, and we'll be promoting those throughout the months that we do it. So yeah, video on Instagram, video on LinkedIn, video on YouTube, video on Facebook. And we'll be having those all on our Eventbrite page. But like I said, if there's anything that you're particularly interested in regards to Instagram, make sure you come to the workshop. And as Michelle has commented, there's no slides on the IGTV just because there is no current way to have it on IGTV is the only problem. So unfortunately, you guys on Instagram Live aren't actually being able to see what's happening on the screen right now. I'm sorry, but you're just going to have to go with my words, unfortunately. You're going to love that. I'm sure you are. So what you're seeing on screen now is the Start My Podcast workshop. We run this on behalf of Creative Geelong, the place where we live, breathe and work. And we run this workshop every single month on the fourth Monday of every month, except for December because it's December and we don't want to have to do stuff. And also it's that time of year where why are we running a workshop when everyone's just taking the time off anyway? But this workshop, we've had a lot of interest in it. We've had a lot of people join up and a lot of people book tickets because it essentially gets you started on your podcast. You come in with an idea or maybe a specific few ideas about your podcast. You leave with a trailer, your first episode of your podcast, ready to go. So we've been enjoying putting that together and we've been enjoying running that for Creative Geelong. And we've been using the Creative Geelong podcasting / audio studio for those recordings, and everyone's been really enjoying it and loving it. And Michelle says, Eventbrite, cool? Yes. And of course, well, yes, unfortunately with Instagram, there's some limitations, and you would find that out if you come to the Instagram video on Instagram workshop. Hence plug. And then once I drink this, some of you may have seen that we started a little side hustle to our main business called Geelong Podcasters. So it's a Facebook group and an event that we run semi-regularly. I haven't exactly figured out with the group or with people how regularly we want to hold these events, but we're holding regular free events for people who are podcasters who live or work in Geelong. This could be Geelong the Bellarine, Drysdale, Lara, Werribee, so like all around there. It's quite a large circumference. So we're holding free meetup events where you can meet up with other podcasters or potential podcasters or people who are just interested in the whole podcasting scene. We're meeting up in the atrium in Creative Geelong. And as you probably guessed, because I work here, I get a little bit of special privileges and I can actually bring people into this place. And also, it's one of these places where a lot of people don't come to very often because they don't know it exists. It's in the heart of the CBD and it's got a lovely glass ceiling or a nice little atrium in the area just out there that I'm pointing to, but essentially it's above us. And it is a beautiful place and I absolutely love working here. So I always love to bring people who have not heard about the space or haven't heard about what Creative Geelong does. I like to bring them in, just introduce them to the space and really hope they enjoy. So at this meetup, we'll be having a little fun people just to, sit, enjoy, have some lunch, drink some tea. Of course, you'll be bringing your own, but catch up and meet with other people. And we'll also be recording our podcast for the year. So Geelong Podcasters has a podcast where we sample other, the hosts. We interview a host of that podcast. We play a little sample and we get a little bit of an idea of their podcast. So then when people listen to the episodes, they know if this podcast is right for them. So then they can go and download it and listen to more episodes. So if you are interested in that, please make sure that you register using this page. Again, you can just look up Geelong Podcasters Meetup. Of course, it's recommended that you, It is recommended that you register because we need to make sure that we have the numbers and I can let security know how many numbers we're expecting because you don't want to ruin security. And yes, as Michelle says, the glass atrium is perfect for sunbaking. And yes, it does get a little bit of hot in here in summer because is the sun. But I'm sure it will be fine on the 18th of January. All right. Ready to get back into it? I think we are. Just making sure that I've answered everyone's questions. Beautiful. I think I've answered everyone's. Ooh. I got a notification of an order for the Geelong Podcasters meetup. That was a surprise and shock. Why did I click on it? Whoops. But thank you to whoever booked in. Thank you to whoever booked in. And really hope you enjoy when you meet us on the 18th. So on screen now, we're going to go on to the tools of what you can use to predict your trends for your business. So on screen, we'll go through a couple of examples that we use, and then we'll cut to back and forth about a couple of things that we use. So as I mentioned before the break, where we discussed about evergreen trends, we discussed about how seasons or specific events or holidays are usually a guaranteed trend. When it comes to, say, like I said about Christmas, the lead up to that is usually quite predictable, but especially in the Australian and UK markets, Black Friday has become a much bigger thing than it used to be. It used to be purely America, purely Canada, purely North America, but then that has not infected, but permeated the rest of the world in the marketing. We don't have the fervourness or hesitate to say the craziness in regards to, say, some American stores, but for most of at least I noticed, especially this year in Australia, Black Friday became a very synonymous word. The marketing picked up tenfold and it became quite intense quite quickly. So for you, in regards to seasons, is there any particular holidays, any particular events, any particular seasons that work really well for your business? So say, for example, when it comes to, say, for example, gutter cleaning. Gutter cleaning, usually you prefer not to do it in the wet. You prefer to do it in usually sunny days, good days, when you can actually hold onto the roof and all that cool stuff. But say, for example, there's a couple of people I know who work in the vacuum gutter business. So they had an industrial vacuum and they suck up the stuff that's in the gutter. They do that rain or shine no matter what. But they say they usually prefer sunny days. They usually prefer summer, not when it gets, 35 and above, but usually during the summer, early summer or late summer time periods. So when it comes to those type of trends, they usually get a lot of people influx into their websites and contacting them because they go out of their house, out of hibernation, and then they realize, oh, the gutters look a bit shit. All right, let's fix them. So that's the same thing that you guys would be doing, is you would think about, okay, what are the regular trends? What are the season that people always contact me? So say, for example, I always get contacted definitely around the financial year, mainly because people look at their finances and then they're able to think, okay, we have to spend, I don't know, this much money before end of financial year so we can claim it on tax. Let's finally get back to Zoe. I'm not saying it happens. I'm just saying that's what I feel like it happens. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. I don't mind people contacting me. Feel free to contact us at Video Confidence Coach for whenever you need it. It's just that time of year it's surprisingly intense, which is rather interesting. But I've learned over the years to actually predict that, to be able to think about, okay, this time of year we run a couple of more, say, campaigns. We run a couple more particular products, or we run maybe some sort of discounts for specific people, just because those people are always have a tendency of contacting us during those times. And we, pick up sales process and just and get it done. So that is particular seasons or ideas. So on screen, we'll have a look at a little thing I like to call Google Trends. So Google Trends is essentially accessing what Google has the knowledge to access. So what I mean by this is that using Google search terms, which I don't know about you guys, but A lot of people Google everything and anything they want to know, and a lot of businesses are built on what people Google to help them find what they need. Say, for example, Mexican Geelong. I came up with like 6 different examples, and I went through all of them, picked which one I wanted, booked right there on Google, bada bing, bada boom. And that's the same thing with you guys, is you can use their big data, their big resources, their big number of resources that they have through multiple different, there's Google search, but there's also other Google aspects, what people are willing to pay for in regards to search number and search terms, the ads that are usually on top. And you can actually see what people click on and what people decide. So say, for example, I'm scrolling down the screen now, and you can see some general Google trends. So say, for example, in America, the split between people searching up Taylor Swift versus Kim Kardashian is a fairly chunk for Taylor Swift. Or say, for example, the World Cup, people who are interested in it, or the people who are really searching World Cup related search terms or phenomenons, usually, all over the world. There's a couple of chunks still missing, but then you can see the regular trends and you can make judgments for it. There are plenty of examples on the screen when it clocks on and actually shows me. Is the live stream having fun? Apologies for anyone watching right now. I seem to have lost the stream. And surprisingly, that doesn't tell me these things. Beautiful. All right. So sorry for anyone watching that I'm going to unfortunately cut this stream short here. And then what I will do is I will see what's going on internet speed wise, or see what's going on, and then I will come back. So unfortunately, I'm going to stop the stream here and we'll see what's going on, because right now it's just stopped and nothing is sending or working. So see you guys in a bit.